When you think about the absolute legends of Porsche racing history,
Mm-hmm.
the cars that really defined things.
Big names.
Yeah, the 550 Spider, maybe the 917, the gorgeous 904.
Yeah.
But what about the 1963 Porsche 356 B Carrera GS GT, the Dreikantschaber?
Yeah. That one doesn't quite roll off the tongue, does it?
Not exactly. And if you haven't really heard of it, well, you're definitely not alone. It's got one of the more wonderfully weird names from Stuttgart's racing division.
It really does.
And today, we're having a fascinating discussion right here on our YouTube channel, Vintage Noise, really digging into this almost forgotten champion that kind of bridged a gap.
Oh, it absolutely deserves the focus, this car. It really only existed because they needed something fast, a quick fix.
Yeah.
But it's just a masterclass in Porsche engineering under, well, intense pressure.
Right.
It's definitely one of the lesser-known racers they ever built, sure. But its role, its sort of strategic mission, absolutely critical. It was the stepping stone they needed to stay dominant while technology was shifting underneath them.
Okay, so that's our mission today then. Let's try and figure out why this car, which was, clearly successful on track, why it still gets kind of overlooked in the history books.
Right.
It won its class again and again.
Yeah, it often gets sidelined.
Why is that?
Well, I think the main reason it's overlooked is tied right into why it was built in the first place.
Okay.
It was only ever meant to be an interim model, a stopgap. It wasn't designed for the long haul like the 550 or the 904 that came right after it. And of course, the big one, they only ever made two, just two.
Wow, only two.
That kind of rarity, it automatically limits how much impact it can have culturally,
Right, okay. Let's unpack that stopgap hero idea then, because the timing seems really key here. Porsche needed something, like right now. What was the actual competitive gap they were desperately trying to fill?
It was pure competitive need, really, back in '63. Porsche could see the writing on the wall, the days of being truly top-tier competitive with aluminum-bodied race cars. That era was ending fast.
Right.
They needed a car that could win immediately, just to bridge that crucial gap year. Basically, the time until the radical new fiberglass-bodied 904 was ready for 1964.
So the Dreikantschaber was like the emergency pack.
Exactly, the emergency fix that somehow had to perform like it was always part of the plan.
And kind of ironically, it was designed by F.A. Butsy Porsche, the man who'd basically defined Porsche's whole future look with the 911.
Yeah.
Yet here he is creating this very short-lived, urgent racing machine.
That's right. He laid out the basic shape, focused on the aero, but it was the mechanics, the guys actually working on it day in, day out in the race department.
Yeah.
They gave it that incredible, wonderfully awkward nickname, Dreikantschaber.
Dreikantschaber. I just love it. It sounds so functional.
Yeah.
So unglamorous.
Well, yeah.
You said it translates to triangular scraper. What's that actually tell us of how it looked?
It tells you the race mechanics weren't exactly poets, They called it like they saw it.
Mhm.
The car's shape was, well, distinctive. It had this really sleek, almost sharp front end, beautifully faired-in headlights, looked totally modern from the front.
All right. Sounds good so far.
But then, as you move back, the tail end is quite abrupt, almost ordinary looking, and it had this near vertical rear windscreen.
So like a really blunt finish after a sleek start.
Exactly. So the whole profile, to the mechanics anyway, looked just like one of those three-sided utility scrapers you use for paint or whatever.
I can almost picture it now. Like two different cars stitched together.
Sort of, yeah. It was a mix of aerodynamic need at the front and maybe packaging necessity at the back, and the name just stuck. But the great irony, the really fantastic part, is that despite the weird name, despite being rushed, this thing turned out to be incredibly reliable. A super successful workhorse on the track, deceptively so.
That's brilliant. Function absolutely hammering for him.
Oh.
Okay, let's get into the production side. Because only making two, that makes the whole effort and the success seem even more amazing.
Well, the base was solid. They used the proven 356 B2000 GS Carrera 2 chassis, reliable stuff.
Okay.
But Porsche was already so focused on getting the 904 project going, they actually didn't have the internal resources or maybe the time to fabricate the unique body panels themselves.
So they had to farm it out.
They did,
Yeah.
yeah. The two aluminum bodies were actually built by a specialist coach builder, Wendler, over in Reutlingen.
Ah, Wendler. Okay.
So Wendler basically shaped the metal, and then the cars came back to the Porsche factory in Zuffenhausen for all the finishing touches, fitting the engine, gearbox, suspension, interior, all that.
That really screams time pressure, doesn't it? Outsourcing the body just to speed things up.
Absolutely. Get it done quick.
So what were the key design things that made it stand out from, say, earlier 356-based racers.
The roofline was a big one, definitely lower than the car it sort of replaced, the 718 GTR Coupe. That was clearly about cutting drag, getting more top speed.
Makes sense.
But maybe the most interesting feature, especially thinking about endurance races like Le Mans, was how the doors were cut.
Ugh. Ah, the famous door cuts. Tell us about those.
Yes. They were described as elegantly cut into the roof itself.
Elegant?
Or practical.
Well, maybe elegantly practical. It wasn't really about looks. It was pure function. It meant the driver, strapped tightly into the seat could get in and out much more easily, much faster during those frantic pit stops.
Ah, saving precious seconds.
Every single second counted in those races.
And the lights. They had a pretty unique setup at the front, too, didn't they?
They absolutely did. You had the normal fared-in headlights, pretty smooth looking, but they also built in an extra pair of driving lights set quite nicely right into the front edge of the nose panel.
Getting ready for night racing?
Definitely preparing for the 24-hour races. And, being a proper factory race car, it was left-hand drive. They used lightweight plexiglass for the door windows, obviously to save weight.
Yeah.
But interestingly, maybe to save time or money, they used standard production 356 parts for things like the indicator lights, little bits off the shelf. A real mix, then. Bespoke racing body, fancy lights, but also standard parts bin stuff where it worked. Okay, let's talk about the two specific cars. Chassis number 122991 and number 122992.
Right. Chassis 122991 was the first one finished, rushed through in March 1963, its main target, the Targa Florio.
Got it.
Chassis 122992 followed a bit later, finished in June 63. That one was primarily aimed at Le Mans, but what's really cool for the real nerdy spotters out there
that's us.
is that even though they were built so close together and look almost identical, there's one key visual clue to tell them apart.
Ooh, okay, this is the good stuff, the detail. How do you tell the Scraper twins apart?
It's all about the B-pillar, the post behind the door, and how it affects the rear side window.
Right.
Chassis 122991, the first car, it had a slightly wider B-pillar, and because of that, its rear side window is noticeably shorter.
Okay, wider pillar, shorter window on the first one.
Exactly. Then on chassis 122992, the second car finished later, they used a narrower B-pillar, and that allowed for a longer rear side window.
Wow, a tiny difference, maybe just inches. But it's the instant tell.
It is.
Given how rushed it all sounds, that difference in the B-pillar almost feels like they were figuring out structural stuff or maybe visibility as they went along, like even between just those two cars.
I think it really speaks to the build it, race it, fix it's mentality of the project. They probably built the first one, ran it hard, found maybe a little flex or a blind spot, and just immediately corrected it for the second chassis. This wasn't slow, careful development. It was like tactical evolution on the fly.
Amazing. Okay, let's talk power. What was the beating heart of this little workhorse? Because you had rivals turning up with, huge V12s, big American V8s. Porsche stuck with the four-cylinder.
They did. Smart move, probably. Power came from the absolute legend, the Furman 4-cam engine, specifically the Type 5872, displacing 1966 cc.
The famous 4-cam.
Yep. And that engine, it wasn't about having the most raw horsepower on the grid. Its strengths were always reliability and efficiency, especially over long distances. It made about 160 brave horsepower, which was actually really strong for a 2-liter engine back then.
Still pretty punchy.
Oh, yeah. And it gave the car a top speed around 235 kilometers per hour, maybe 146 miles per hour, all going through a tough, reliable Type 741 4-speed gearbox.
Sticking with that 4-cam engine must have been strategic, right? It was something they knew inside out, less risky than developing something new while the 904 was cooking.
Right.
And it kept them right in that GT2000 class.
Exactly right. They knew that engine, they knew its limits, its strengths. They were clearly prioritizing reliability and aiming squarely for winning the GT2000 class, which they probably figured they could dominate, rather than trying to beat the Ferraris and Cobras for the overall win.
Smart. Focus on the achievable win.
And the results. They proved the strategy right almost instantly. The car was winning pretty much straight out of the box in 1963.
That success was immediate, wasn't it? Talk us through its debut at the Targa Florio.
Okay, so the 1963 Targa Florio. I mean, one of the craziest, toughest road races anywhere ever.
Absolutely.
Chassis number 122991, the first one driven by Edgar Barth and Herbert Linge. They finished an absolutely amazing third overall against much bigger, more powerful cars. And, crucially, they won the GT2000 class, first time out.
Wow, third overall and a class win on debut. That's a massive statement for a brand new Supposedly stopgap car.
Huge statement. And then, just a couple of weeks later, they kept that momentum going.
Where next?
Nürburgring, 1,000 kilometers. Same car, 122991. Finished 4th overall this time, and again won the GT2000 class. It was just relentless.
Incredible results for a car basically rushed into existence.
Yeah.
But then came the big one, the big disappointment, Le Mans.
Yeah. Le Mans in 1963. That turned out to be the Dreikantschaber's weak spot. Maybe that rushed engine development caught up with them under 24 hours of flat-out stress.
What happened?
Both cars were entered, both chassis 991 and 992. But unfortunately, both retired with engine problems. Neither finished the race. Chassis 992 went out after 94 laps. 991 lasted a bit longer, 115 laps. But yeah, both out. A real blow for the factory team.
Ouch. Failing like that on the biggest stage? There must have been some serious pressure back in Stuttgart after that.
You'd think so. But this is Porsche racing we're talking about. They didn't just pack up and go home. They bounced back incredibly quickly.
How quick?
We're talking weeks, not months. That really shows how much confidence they had in the basic car, right? They clearly figured out the engine issues fast and proved the design was sound. Just 3 weeks after the Le Mans failure.
Yeah.
Chassis 122991 was back racing at the Auvergne Trophy, finished 6th overall, and bang, first in class again. They just didn't let Le Mans stop them.
Wow, impressive resilience.
Yeah.
And didn't that car then go on to score an overall win, not just a class win?
It did indeed. Jabanier drove chassis 991 to its first outright overall victory. That was at the German GT Championship round at the Solitude circuit, which was a pretty tricky track. Showed it could beat everyone on its day, not just the other 2-liter cars.
And the versatility of this thing, this triangular scraper, it was amazing. Not just circuits, right? It also tackled one of the most popular and frankly dangerous motorsports back then, hill climbing.
Oh yeah, hill climbing was massive in Europe in the 60s, a completely different discipline, all about precision, torque, bravery.
Definitely bravery.
And Herbert Muller took chassis 991 and scored multiple class wins in major hill climbs, places like Olenvillers in Switzerland, the Geisberg climb in Austria, big events. So here's a car designed for Le Mans, basically, winning these vertical sprint races. It really was an adaptable, incredibly capable workhorse.
Okay, so let's move into 1964. The new 904 is looming. It's on the horizon. But the Dreikantschaber, it still had some important work left to do, didn't it? Especially over in America.
Yeah, this is where it really cemented its legacy, I think. Porsche sent both cars over the Atlantic for the big early season endurance races in '64. Daytona first.
Right, the Daytona 2,000 kilometers back then. What were they up against?
Oh, just the biggest guns. You had the massive V12 Ferraris, the thunderous V8 Shelby Cobras. Serious machinery.
So a little lightweight aerodynamic 4-cylinder scraper against the might of Detroit and Maranello.
Pretty much. And yet, chassis 122992, driven by Barth, Linge, and Bonnier sharing the duties, finished 6th overall. 6th, and won the GT Division II 2000 class. Chassis 991 wasn't far behind either, finished 8th overall.
6th and 8th overall against that competition with a 2-liter engine. That's borderline miraculous. Just speaks volumes about the reliability of that from an engine, doesn't it?
Absolutely. An incredible performance, and it didn't stop there. Next up was Sebring.
The Sebring 12 hours. And by this point, the new 904 had actually arrived, right?
It had. The 904 made its debut at Sebring in the prototype GT class, so the future was literally on the track alongside the car it was replacing.
How did the old guard do?
The Dreikantschaber held its own. Chassis 122992 finished 11th overall and again won the GT 2000 class. It just kept racking up those class wins, cementing its reputation as totally dominant in its category.
That's such a key strategic point, isn't it?
Yeah.
Even as the 904 is arriving, the Dreikantschaber is still winning its class in the big American races. It's showing everyone, teams, customers, rivals, that Porsche hasn't missed a beat during this transition. It bought them credibility and results while the new car bedded in.
Exactly. It was like motorsport results is corporate risk management. If the 904 had stumbled early on, which new cars often do, the Dreikantschaber's continuing success in '64 meant Porsche's winning reputation was safe.
Smart thinking. Yeah. Okay, what about its final big race, back to the Targa Florio in '64?
Yep, its last major factory outing. And while the new 904s did what they were supposed to do, finished 1st and 2nd overall, announcing the new era. The old Dreikantschaber proved it wasn't done yet. Chassis 122991 still managed a very respectable 7th overall and finished 3rd in its class. Still competitive on those insane Sicilian roads, even racing against its own successor.
A fitting end to its frontline career. And with that, its job was done. What a pivotal car in Porsche's story.
It really is. The Porsche 356 B Carrera GS GT Dreikantschaber. It holds that unique place in history, doesn't it?